Basque the Wells legacy. A voice crackles through the speakers. We'll make the Wells vanish. The town hall erupts. A cassette tape from 1985 exposes a mayor mid-sentence, and what was hidden for 40 years suddenly burns brighter than the library burning behind them. But the real shock comes at the very end. A second recording, hidden in the tape's final seconds. A voice from the dead. Her grandfather's voice. 13 hours earlier, ink stains on Emma's fingertips. The silver letter opener slides through packing tape with a sharp, dry screech that cuts through the quiet of the archive room. Her focus is absolute, the way it always is when something unmarked arrives at the library. That peculiar alertness librarians develop. The sense that certain things demand careful handling. The brown cardboard box sits on her dusty desk under the filtered amber light of late afternoon. Outside, the North Carolina sky has turned the color of wet concrete. Rain threatens but hasn't yet committed. She pulls out a cassette tape. Plastic yellowed by decades. Her thumb brushes the adhesive label, fading black felt tip ink spelling out a date. July 12th, 1985. The numbers have that specific softness of ink that's been exposed to light and moisture and time. She turns it over. No other markings, no name, no explanation. The tape goes into the Sony recorder on her desk. The machine sits like an artifact itself, chunky and obsolete, the kind of equipment the library keeps for preservation work. Her index finger slams down on play. The mechanical clack echoes in the room, loud in the way old machines are loud. White noise, then hissing, then a voice, deep, rhythmic, deliberate, speaking in the tone of someone used to being obeyed. Emma reaches for the yellow legal pad. Her pen hovers. She begins to write. Blackwood Acres. The name of the development project proposed in 1985. She remembers reading about it in the archives. Local history, the kind of thing that gets filed away and forgotten. Eminent domain. The words tumble out of the speaker like stones down a well. The voice continues. The Wells estate is the final piece. If they won't sell, we'll make them vanish. Emma's pen stops moving. The ballpoint stays pressed to the paper, ink pooling where it shouldn't. Her shoulders stiffen, not the kind of stiffness that comes from sitting too long. The kind that comes from understanding something you didn't want to understand. She stands so fast, her chair screeches backward against the linoleum. The sound is violent in the quiet. She reaches for the framed black and white photograph on the edge of her desk. Her grandfather, standing on a porch, flannel shirt, the kind smile he was always known for. The date is stamped in the corner. 1985. Same year, the same summer. She stares at the cassette. The reels are still spinning, though the voice has moved on to something else now, words blurring into background noise. Her own name appears in the recording, her own family name, spoken like it's already dead. 6:15 p.m. The rain has started in earnest. Emma hurries toward her silver Honda, her leather bag clutched against her chest. The parking lot is nearly empty now. That particular emptiness of late afternoon when everyone sensible has already gone home. Raindrops hit the asphalt like lead shot, creating small explosions of water. She doesn't notice the shadow until it moves. A man steps from behind a concrete pillar. Black hoodie. Unidentifiable. The kind of unremarkable that makes him perfectly identifiable by virtue of his complete lack of identity. He's faster than he looks. One moment he's 10 feet away. The next, his fingers are gripping her bag strap. Emma jerks back. Her heels skid on wet pavement. She swings her bag. The heavy leather connects with something soft, and the impact reverberates up her arm. The attacker's temple takes the blow. A wet thud, like hitting wet meat. He grunts, recovers. Then he slams her against the car door. Her head bounces off the glass. A hollow sound, sickening. The kind of sound that makes her vision swim for just a moment. She doesn't hesitate with a panic. She drives her knee upward, aiming for the space between his legs. The man's breath leaves him in a choked gasp. He falls to his knees. Emma fumbles her keys, her hands slick with rain and sweat. She shoves them into the lock. The mechanism catches. She dives inside and pulls the door shut just as his hand reaches the handle. The lock engages with a metallic clack. Emma floors the accelerator. The tires scream against wet asphalt, a sound almost animal in its desperation. The car lurches forward, fishtailing slightly before the traction catches. She looks in the rearview mirror. The attacker is standing now, bent over, one hand pressed to his ribs. He pulls a cell phone from his pocket. Not a common thief, not random. Someone who knew she had the tape. 8 p.m. The rain has stopped, but the world is still wet. Emma sits at her laptop, face illuminated by the blue glow of an audio editing program. The waveform of the cassette tape stretches across her screen in neon green lines. Spikes of sound like mountains and valleys. She drags a slider to isolate the low frequencies, filtering out the background hiss and crackle of decades. The fan in the laptop whirs. The mouse clicks. She isolates one specific phrase, one specific voice, and runs it through enhancement software. The voice becomes clear. And there's something in it. A distinctive catch, a whistle on the S sounds, that she recognizes immediately. Like a sound from childhood. Like a voice at a funeral, reading scripture with that same careful authority. She clicks her mouse again. A new window opens. Her family photo album, scanned years ago. She scrolls through the digital Polaroids, 80s light, the particular saturation of film from that era. There, a picture of two men on a porch. One is her father, younger than she remembers him, smiling in that easy way he had. The other is her uncle, Arthur Sterling, young then, but already wearing that expression of someone who believes the world exists to be organized according to his preferences. The voice on the tape says, "Whatever it takes." The Wells family is history. And there it is, the catch in the voice, the same pattern of speech, the same slight whistle on the S. Emma pulls up a more recent image on her screen. Mayor Arthur Sterling, photographed at last month's town council meeting. Same face, older now, but carrying that same absolute certainty. The mayor of Asheville. The man who speaks at festivals and ribbon cuttings and funerals. The man who appeared at her father's funeral and read the eulogy with such practiced compassion. The man who, 40 years ago, recorded himself planning to erase her family from existence. The tape hisses as it reaches the end of the recording. The reels slow and stop. The silence that follows is immense. 11:30 p.m. Deep night. The house is dark and quiet in the way that houses are quiet when you know you're going to break something that can't be repaired. Emma is in the kitchen, pouring water into a glass, when the sound comes through the living room like a gunshot. Glass shatters. Her hand spasms. The water pitcher drops. It explodes on the tile in a spray of water and ceramic fragments. The noise somehow louder than the breaking glass from the other room. Shadows move across the kitchen wall. Shadows that belong to something solid. Something advancing. A man kicks the kitchen door open. He holds a heavy-duty flashlight, the kind that could double as a weapon, and he blasts the beam directly at Emma's eyes. She throws her arm up, blinded. She reaches for the first thing she can grab, the cast-iron skillet on the stovetop, and swings it in an arc. The metal connects with his arm. The impact sends vibrations through the cast iron, through her hand, up her wrist. A bone-jarring thwack. The flashlight drops, its beam spinning wildly across the ceiling before it lands face down on the tile. They grapple over the kitchen island. His hands are enormous. Practiced. He's done this before, or something like this. They knock over the wooden knife block. The knives spill like silver fish, scattering across the tile floor with a sound like chiming bells. Emma reaches down without looking and closes her fingers around the serrated bread knife. The blade is heavy. She slashes upward. The knife catches fabric and something underneath. The attacker yells, a sound of actual pain, and pulls back. Blood blooms on his sleeve. He stumbles toward the back door. Emma keeps the knife raised, staying low, breathing through her mouth. He doesn't fight further. He simply retreats into the night, one hand pressed against his wounded arm. Emma throws the deadbolt. Then she slides down to the floor, her back against the door, the knife still gripped in her shaking hand. Her phone pings. A text from an unknown number. Give it back or the library burns next. The words sit there on the screen, clinical and absolute. The library burns next. Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. City Hall is all brass fixtures and polished wood, the kind of architecture that exists to convey permanence and authority. Emma walks through the main entrance and takes the elevator to the 3rd floor, where the mayor's office occupies the corner suite. The receptionist nods her through. Family gets through. That's what family means. Arthur Sterling sits behind a massive mahogany desk. He is polishing a silver trophy with a white cloth. Mayor of the Year, the inscription reads. And he doesn't look up when Emma enters. He's made a study of power, and power includes forcing people to watch you ignore them. Emma walks to the desk and pulls the cassette tape out of her pocket. She places it on the edge of his desk. The clatter of plastic on wood is like a gunshot in the quiet. Arthur stops polishing. Emma speaks first, her voice steady. I found a piece of our history, Uncle Arthur. Or should I call you Mayor? Arthur looks at the tape, then at Emma. His eyes turn predatory in a way that makes it clear he understands exactly what she's holding. He starts to laugh, a dry rasping sound, like wind through a broken window. History is written by those who stay, he says. Your father left. Your grandfather followed orders. You? You're just a librarian. He stands up, leaning over the desk, until he is inches from her face. His breath smells like expensive coffee and something chemical underneath. He takes the tape and slides it into his desk drawer. A gold key turns. The lock engages. Emma smirks. She pulls her phone from her pocket and shows him the screen. A bar indicates live upload. It has reached 100%. The progress is complete. The file is already in the cloud, backed up, distributed to secure servers that no man in a mayor's office can reach. I'm a librarian, Arthur, she says quietly. I know how to back things up. 11:30 p.m. The night has turned orange. Emma pulls up to the library, and her hands go still on the steering wheel. The second-story windows flicker with orange light. Black smoke curls out of the ventilation grates like a snake. The fire alarm wails, a sound that has wailed for decades, a sound that's meant to save people but sometimes only announces what's already being taken from them. She doesn't hesitate. She gets out of the car. She smashes the front glass door with a fire extinguisher. The shards fall like diamonds, scattering across the tile floor. The heat hits her immediately. A wall of it, a physical force that makes it hard to breathe. She pulls her collar over her mouth and rushes inside. The archive room is burning. The shelves are melting. The plastic binding on hundreds of old books is curling and blackening, the paper underneath turning brown. The air is thick with ash and smoke and the smell of burning history. Emma's eyes water. Her lungs seize. She sees the metal box labeled County Land Records, 1980-1990. It sits on the third shelf, within reach, but also right in the path of heat that's intense enough to warp metal. She grabs it using her sleeves to protect her hands. The metal is searing hot. Even through the cloth it burns. She doesn't let go. A beam falls from the ceiling. It crashes in front of the exit, blocking the path she came through. Sparks spray into the air like fireworks. Emma doesn't think. She hurls the metal box through the archive room window. It crashes onto the lawn outside with a heavy thud. She looks for another way out. 2 a.m. in the morning. The forest behind the library is dark and absolute. Emma crawls out through a side window, her face streaked with soot, her hair singed on one side. She grabs the metal box from the grass. A pair of heavy boots appears next to her hand. She looks up. It's the same attacker. The man from the parking lot. The man from her home. He's standing over her, one arm bandaged, his expression promising nothing but continuance. Emma kicks his shin and bolts into the forest. Branches whip her face. Vines catch at her clothing. She can hear the man crashing through the underbrush behind her like a wild animal, his footsteps heavy and relentless. The forest is dark enough that she's running almost blind, letting instinct and panic carry her forward. The man catches her near a creek. They roll down a muddy embankment. Emma's fingers claw at the mud, searching for anything solid. Her hand closes around a jagged stone. She doesn't think about it. She slams the rock into the man's shoulder. He howls. She shoves him into the shallow water of the creek and doesn't wait to see if he follows. She scrambles up the other side, mud coating her clothes, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Still clutching the box. 2 a.m. becomes 3 a.m., becomes 4 a.m., becomes dawn. Emma follows coordinates she decoded from the tape. The path takes her to the old Wells estate, the property that's been abandoned for decades, overgrown and forgotten. The rusted gate stands like a sentinel. The fog is so thick she can barely see her own feet. She holds a flashlight. Its beam is weak and yellow. Behind the house ruins, she finds what the tape was referencing. A patch of ground where the grass is a different color, lighter, more disturbed, as if something has been buried and the grass has never quite recovered. She begins to dig with the metal box lid, scraping at the earth with mechanical precision. The lid hits something hard. She brushes away the dirt. It's plastic-wrapped folders, many of them. She opens one and finds deeds, legal documents, names of families, signatures. Her grandfather's name appears as a witness on every document. Then she opens another folder and finds something else. A death certificate. Name, Henry Wells. Date of death, July 12th, 1985. The same day as the land seizures. The same day as the tape recording. Emma sits in the dirt, the certificate in her hands, understanding finally what the empty space in her life has always meant. Her grandfather didn't just witness the crime. They killed him to keep him quiet. His cooperation wasn't a choice. It was a demand written in his blood. 7 p.m. on Thursday. Storm clouds gather. Emma sneaks through the basement entrance of the town hall. The sound of applause from the meeting above vibrates through the concrete ceiling. She's carrying her laptop. She doesn't make it far. 2 security guards step out from behind the boiler. One has a taser. Before Emma can react, the blue arc of electricity jumps through the air. It finds her body and locks every muscle into seizure. Her eyes roll back. The world becomes a strobe light effect of blue and white and her own scattered thoughts. She collapses. When her vision clears, her hands are plastic tied behind her back. She's slumped against a hot steam pipe. The heat is already blistering her skin. Arthur Sterling enters the basement. He looks down at her without expression. He takes her laptop from the floor and drops it into a bucket of water. The computer sinks. Bubbles rise from the submerged screen. "I'm giving my re-election speech in 5 minutes," he says quietly. "You'll be in the furnace by then." His footsteps echo as he leaves. Emma watches the bubbles stop rising. The laptop sits on the bottom of the bucket, completely dark. She's tied to a hot steam pipe. The heat is already unbearable. She has no tools, no way out, no backup plan. She is at her lowest point. But Emma is a librarian, and librarians know how to solve problems. She fumbles in her pocket with her bound hands. The fingers are just barely flexible enough. She pulls out a 9-volt battery she took from the library's smoke detector weeks ago during a maintenance check. A battery is just chemistry. Chemistry is just controlled reaction. She leans it against the metal pipe. Her bound hands work to find a stray copper wire on the basement floor. Her fingers are bleeding now. The tie is cutting into her wrists. But she finds one. She uses her thumb to short the battery. A spark jumps. She presses the hot wire against the plastic zip tie. The plastic melts with a foul smell. Her hands snap free. She doesn't go for the door. Instead, she goes for the PA system override panel on the wall. Old buildings have old systems. Systems have overrides. She finds one and pulls it open. From her boot, she removes a second cassette recorder, a backup of the backup. She didn't bring the original tape to the mayor's office. She brought the copy. And now she has the second copy, ready to broadcast. She inserts the tape. 7:30 p.m. The main hall of Town Hall is packed with people. Citizens, voters. The kind of people who show up to municipal meetings because they believe the process still means something. Arthur Sterling is at the podium, arms raised. The crowd is cheering. Suddenly, the speakers emit a loud feedback squeal. His voice is replaced by his own voice from 40 years ago, booming through the entire auditorium. "We'll make the wells vanish. Sign the papers, Henry, or Emma doesn't grow up." The crowd goes silent. The implication is immediate. Emma, not a name of someone in 1985. But her, the daughter who didn't exist yet. A threat made to her grandfather about her own life, not yet lived. Emma walks through the center aisle of the auditorium. She's covered in soot, mud, and blood. She holds her grandfather's death certificate high above her head like a flag. Arthur tries to run, but the families from the front row, the descendants of those he displaced, those he've spent 40 years convincing they should be grateful for their displacement, stand up and block the stage exits. They form a wall of silent judgment. The police arrive 14 minutes later. They arrive because someone in the crowd called. The police arrive because the law still exists, even if it's slow to acknowledge its own failures. 10 p.m. The rain has stopped. Arthur Sterling is led out in handcuffs. The blue and red lights of police cars strobe across his face. He looks at Emma with pure hatred. She stares back with total calm. She sits on the steps of the town hall, the cassette recorder in her lap. The tape reaches the very end. But as it does, a second recording clicks in. The reels continue to spin. A second voice, softer than the first, breathing heavily like someone has been running or crying or both. Her grandfather's voice. "Emma, if you're hearing this, I didn't just witness it. I recorded it. I was the one who sent the package from the past. I waited for you to be strong enough." The words hang in the night air. The cassette reaches its absolute end and the reels slow to stillness. Emma looks at the library ruins across the street. The fire has consumed the structure, leaving only a skeleton of what was. But the metal box sits in the parking lot, safe, the records inside now protected by police custody and the attention of the state attorney general. She holds her grandfather's old librarian badge in her palm. The silver is cool. The edge is worn. On one side, embossed, Keeper of Records. She stands. The badge goes into her pocket. She doesn't think about what comes next. She doesn't think about the trial or the testimony or the years of legal process that will follow. She simply walks toward the exit, her footsteps echoing on the town hall steps. The night air is cool on her burned skin. She doesn't look back.